As the planet continues to heat under the combined weight of trapped greenhouse gases and oceanic energy release, doctors are being forced into a new era of medicine, one defined not by pathogens or trauma, but by temperature itself. Heat has become a global killer, a silent aggressor that pushes human physiology beyond its limits. Yet many health systems remain dangerously unprepared. The diseases tied to extreme heat are not rare or exotic anymore. They are multiplying in clinics and emergency rooms worldwide. For physicians, this is no longer a theoretical topic in environmental health. It is a daily, life-or-death reality. The time for academic detachment is over. Doctors must now treat climate as an active disease vector, one that interacts with every organ, every cell, and every social condition. Heat-related illness begins insidiously. The earliest signs are often dismissed: dizziness, fatigue, thirst, confusion. But as the body's temperature regulation breaks down, the spiral toward death can be rapid. Heat exhaustion appears when the body loses too much water and salt through sweat. Patients present with clammy skin, headache, nausea, and a racing pulse. In older adults or those on diuretics, this stage can quickly progress to heat stroke, a catastrophic failure of thermoregulation in which the body's core temperature climbs above 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit. The skin becomes hot and dry, the pulse weakens, consciousness fades, and internal organs begin to fail. Without immediate cooling, ice packs to the groin and armpits, immersion in cold water, intravenous fluids, mortality can exceed 50%. Even survivors often suffer permanent brain or kidney damage. This is not a rare occurrence. During major heat waves, hospitals report hundreds of such cases in a single day. The hidden danger is that heat amplifies other diseases, turning manageable conditions into deadly ones. Cardiovascular disorders worsen as blood vessels dilate and the heart strains to cool the body. Every degree of increased ambient temperature raises the risk of heart attack and stroke, especially among older adults. Respiratory illnesses flare as heat interacts with air pollution and ground-level ozone, inflaming airways and reducing oxygen uptake. Diabetics become unstable as dehydration disrupts glucose control. Kidney disease patients, already vulnerable to fluid loss, can spiral into acute renal failure in a matter of hours. Heat, in this sense, is not just a standalone illness. It is a force multiplier, intensifying every underlying weakness in the body. For clinicians, the vulnerable populations are both predictable and expanding. The elderly, infants, outdoor laborers, and those with chronic diseases remain at the highest risk, but new groups are emerging. Pregnant women are increasingly suffering from dehydration-induced preterm labor and fetal distress. Urban poor populations, often living in heat-trapping concrete neighborhoods without air conditioning, face sustained exposure even at night. Migrant workers and the homeless, unable to find shelter, endure lethal wet bulb temperatures that render the body unable to sweat effectively. Even athletes, soldiers, and healthy young adults are now collapsing in unprecedented numbers during heat spikes. These are not isolated tragedies. They are the symptoms of a world physiologically unfit for its own climate. Treatment priorities must shift to reflect this new reality. Every emergency department should be equipped for mass heat casualty incidents. Cooling protocols must become as standardized as cardiac arrest procedures. Rapid immersion in cold water is the most effective treatment for heat stroke, yet too many hospitals still rely on outdated methods: fans, damp towels, or ice packs that cannot reverse core temperature fast enough. Field responders should carry electrolyte solutions and be trained to identify early warning signs, especially confusion or slurred speech, which often precede collapse. Blood work should include renal panels and electrolyte levels to detect hidden damage, and mental status exams must continue after physical stabilization, since neurological injury can linger. But medicine cannot stop at the bedside. Physicians must recognize that the next wave of heat deaths will not arrive neatly in hospitals. It will strike in homes, workplaces, and nursing facilities long before help can arrive. Doctors need to become advocates for prevention, pushing governments to fund cooling shelters, demanding patient outreach programs during heat alerts, and guiding community health workers on risk communication. The climate crisis is creating a form of distributed medical emergency, millions of patients simultaneously suffering symptoms triggered by a single environmental factor. Traditional, reactive medicine is no longer enough. The warning signs for public health are dire. Every major heatwave now leaves behind a trail of mortality that far exceeds the official numbers. Most victims die without diagnosis, cardiac arrest, respiratory failure, or natural causes on their death certificates, masking the true scale of the crisis. Hospitals are learning the hard way that morgues can fill faster during heat disasters than during epidemics. In France's 2003 heatwave, nearly 15,000 people died, many of them elderly and alone. Similar tragedies are now happening regularly from Canada to India, yet they barely make headlines. The normalization of this loss is one of the most chilling aspects of our time, people dying silently of heat and societies treating it as background noise. For doctors, the psychological toll of this new reality is also mounting. Treating patients who collapse from preventable heat illness creates a sense of helplessness. Seeing patterns of death tied to environmental failure erodes morale. Many healthcare workers are already exhausted from pandemic response and chronic understaffing. The addition of recurring climate emergencies will push many systems to breaking point. Hospitals themselves are not designed for sustained 40 degrees Celsius conditions. Air conditioning failures, power outages, and overheating wards are becoming common. Doctors may soon find themselves treating heat victims inside hospitals that are themselves overheating. There is also the risk of cascading public health crises. As heat intensifies, vector-borne diseases like dengue, malaria, and chikungunya are spreading into new regions, thriving in warmer water and air. Foodborne pathogens multiply faster in hot conditions, increasing gastrointestinal illness. The combination of malnutrition, dehydration, and infection could overwhelm medical systems even in high-income countries. In this sense, heat-related disease is not a single entity, but a web of interlocking threats, all radiating outward from the same source, the overheating of the planet's oceans and atmosphere. The negative trajectory is clear. Unless global warming is slowed, the medical profession will face a future defined by heat as the dominant health challenge of the century. The human body was not built for sustained exposure to extreme temperatures, and no amount of clinical expertise can fully compensate for that physiological limit. Doctors can treat the symptoms, but they cannot cool the earth. Each additional degree of global warming will translate into thousands more patients with heat stroke, heart attacks, kidney failure, and lost pregnancies. Each summer will be longer, hotter, deadlier. The warning is therefore not only medical but existential. Heat-related diseases are the visible wounds of a planet in distress. Physicians now stand at the crossroads between biology and climate, forced to treat not only their patients but the consequences of global inaction. The duty to heal has never been more complicated or more urgent. If the world does not take this warning seriously, hospitals will become the final front lines of climate collapse, filled with victims of an illness that has no vaccine, no cure, and no end in sight.